Hello everyone, welcome to Legacy and Leadership, brought to you by Desert Leadership and Desert Leadership University. My name is Melissa Charles and I will be facilitating our conversation today. So welcome. Recently I was asked to give a speech on legacy and leadership. And I have to tell you, when I did this, I did some research because I have to tell you, in 20-some years of working, I can't remember one instance where anybody ever asked me what my legacy was. What did I want to leave behind? What did I want to be remembered for? So today we're going to really tie together legacy and leadership. And when you think about it, when you think about people who've left a legacy, it automatically led me to look at leaders. People like John F. Kennedy, Martin Luther King, Mother Teresa. They were all leaders in some shape or form. Not necessarily leaders of big corporations. Obviously, we had a president. You know, Martin Luther King was just a huge part of our civil rights movement. Mother Teresa was a leader in human rights for everybody. You know, she was wanting to make sure that everyone was taken care of. Everyone has the ability and the right to have the same things in life. So we're really going to focus on that. What I would like to do is kind of give you just a little bit about Desert Leadership University, and our core belief that we have. Leadership has 12 key principles to it. And as you see on the screen, I've got them listed for you. This is not in any specific order or anything like that. It's not, okay, we start here, we end here. This is just how I listed it for you. First, we're going to look at the power of persuasion. And, you know, you think, well, what is the power of persuasion? When you think, well, or at least when I think of persuasion, I always think about salespeople, because salespeople have that power to talk you into whatever it is you went to look at, be it when you go to look at cars. You know, you're on the fence, you know you want a car, but are you really going to spend it? Well, that's what a salesperson does. They persuade you into purchasing whatever. So when we look at persuasion, we have to think about it as this. It's the single most important business leadership and personal skill anybody can have. Without the skill to persuade, leaders would be unable to lead. They'd be unable to really function. Salespeople would be unable to sell. So with our powers of persuasion, you will learn and know the right and wrong ways to persuade people. Understand how the brain processes logic and emotion. You're going to be able to apply the most persuasive appeal to every leadership presentation. So power of persuasion is really an interesting and fun topic that we have here at Desert Leadership. Teamwork is our next thing that's on our list. And really, if you think about it, teamwork is just about a part of everything that you do, personally and professionally. Personally, if you're married, that's a team. You two are a team. And to be successful, you have to work together. It works the same way in any organization, any business that you have. It's teamwork. There's no I in team. With this teamwork, you're going to really learn the process of enabling groups to become self-governing and facilitate guidance. You know, there's going to be the learning of how to organize teams around core processes. You're going to have the ability to hire and develop employees who possess multiple skills. Because we have to realize and remember that when we hire people, everybody brings something to the table. Some people bring more than others, but everybody brings something to the table. And that's what makes an organization successful, because you have such diverse backgrounds. And we need everyone to be a part of that process. Next and most importantly is leadership roles. That is what we're going to be talking today about. So I'm not going to go too heavily into leadership roles other than just to basically tell you that leadership roles is really the learning of the factors needed to achieve long-term organizational success. It gives you the understanding of the fundamentals of teams and leaderships within team environments. It also gives you the 5 key leadership roles that all leaders should possess. Building trust, another huge topic, another topic that I love to talk about. With building trust, you have to think of it in this instance that you need trust in every relationship you have, personally or professionally. If you don't have trust, you find it hard to work with people. So with building trust, you really learn to appreciate the need for collaboration. You really learn how to become a trustworthy person, and once you become a trustworthy person, you're able to trust as well. Another great topic. Leveraging time and my goodness, I can't talk today. Leveraging time, celebrating diversity. 2 huge topics. Leveraging time is really about learning how to prioritize tasks and leveraging the time that you have in accordance with the goals. It helps you to identify the time wasters and how to deal with them. You learn to embrace strategies to maximize effective time management, as well as to learn how to lead others to leverage time for the greater productivity of the organization. Celebrating diversity is, at its core, learning how to define diversity and to recognize the different dimensions that impact a culture. It is also about valuing the diversity because we organizationally, personally, worldly, we are a melting pot of diverse backgrounds. And that's what's great about us. Not every one person is the exact same. We all come from different backgrounds, different cultures, different beliefs, and that's what makes the world go round. And that is, at its heart, what celebrating diversity is. Next is employee engagement. No organization can be successful without the employees. And having those employees be engaged every day, every hour that they're there is huge. So employment is not an issue that is normally addressed, but you have to learn how to fix and put aside the issues. Opportunities to engage really must be a daily event for every employee. And when you see there's a focus on engagement daily, there's communication that's happening, you're building relationships. And when you think about it, leadership is all about relationships. It's all about building relationships and engaging your employees. When your employees feel like they are the core to your business, they're helping to make those decisions. They're a part of it. That makes your organization strong and it makes it more successful, which the bottom line, more profitability. Organizational transformation. This is really a huge topic and I'm going to touch upon it lightly. It is a great way if you are an entrepreneur. Even if you're not, you work in an organization, you really need to understand how that organization runs. So with organizational transformation, you're learning to assess the environment, including your suppliers, your customers, your competitors, and your stakeholders. You're learning to identify the business and the organizational strategy. That does include the structure and the core processes. You're learning to establish the systems for recruiting talent, train and development, measure, establish outcomes and reward, and recognize success. You're creating a culture of job satisfaction reflected by engaged employees with positive attitudes and behaviors. Next is leading with vision. Leadership is a very huge topic. When you sit down and you think, oh, how can it be such a huge topic? It is a huge topic. So within our 12 principles, we've broken leadership down into two key areas: leadership roles and leading with vision. Leadership roles is what we're going to talk about, but we are going to touch a little bit on leading with vision. And basically with leading with vision, you're assessing your leadership and the ability to translate the vision into reality. You know, we're going to explore empowerment and the ability to rally people behind that vision. We're going to also discover the impact of passion, trust, and commitment, and the belief on leadership. Another one of my favorite things to go over is resolving conflict. It is something that we have professionally and personally in every aspect of our lives. The thing is that we have to understand that, again, conflict occurs in our lives because, quite frankly, we engage in social interaction with people that have different goals and backgrounds and values from our own. So conflict is something definitely, it's a developing skill that we all need to have. And it truly is. When you look around you, you honestly sit down and think about, okay, at work and at home, look at the different things. Most of the conflict that we have is very negative. The point is that we need to turn that negative conflict into a positive conflict. So instead of looking at it as a win-lose, we're looking at it as a win-win. You're able to identify causes in the organizational conflict and create an environment to reduce negative conflict. You know, with this, you're also able to look at the different elements of conflict and define disruptive conflict and constructive conflict. And in most organizations, most personal life, we have disruptive conflict. And we have to learn how to build those skills to turn it into a positive, constructive way. We have a problem. How can we together solve it or find a way to manage it so that every day we can work together in a positive direction? Emotional intelligence. Most of the time when I do talk about emotional intelligence, people think, oh, I don't want to sit here and talk about my emotions. You know, work is work and we're not going to discuss emotions. Well, the thing is what everyone has to understand is that emotional intelligence is the makeup of who we are. We're very emotional beings. So, you know, we take a step into looking at emotional intelligence. We look at our IQ and we really look at our critical range of abilities that help us navigate through our life. With our emotional intelligence, we look at our 4 paradigms of emotional intelligence. We also look at identifying the key moments that are helping us choose the path to success or the path to survival. We also recognize choices in our life that takes responsibility for the experiences that we have. We also look at implementing our vision and act with our personal integrity. Last but not least, yet another huge portion of leadership is our ability to effectively communicate. And a lot of us probably sit there and think, oh, I'm good at communication. Why do I need to take a communication course? Well, the simple fact is I've even learned from personal experience that I thought I was a pretty good communicator. I thought, well, I'm able and have that ability to sit there no matter what my belief is and listen to other sides. I have the ability to see other sides, and I always have that ability to be in the middle and really hear other people. But what we have to understand is communication is a very complex process, and it's due to the challenge of inputting, you know, our internal perspectives, our feelings, our emotions, and the meanings and the words. And what we have to do to be effective communicators is we have to include sending and receiving the right messages and the correctly receiving and sending the right messages to be successful with effective communication. With our effective communication, we would define effective communication personally and in the organization. We would review the 5 levels of communicating, which, in case you don't know, are interpersonal, group, public, and mass. How to become a good listener, how to really be open to communication, paying attention, seeking clarification when we're not sure, recognizing and identifying the 5 key ways to effectively communicate. These are all key things that we have to do to be effective leaders. And it is truly our belief at Desert Leadership and Desert Leadership University that the 12 principles of leadership are all 12 principles of what you need to be an effective, good leader. Okay, so let's go ahead and start talking about legacy and leadership. And we talked about it a little bit before, but my true firm belief is that to be an effective, good leader, you have to think of it in a multitude of ways. What I want to start off with is let's look at managers versus leaders. Now, in traditional management, managers are directing and they're doing. They're always the answer person. They have a firm belief that if you want something done right, you have to do it yourself. They're over-directing and micromanaging. You know, they're always mandating the goals. They're experiencing that, you know, you can't do it unless you have me in the mix. They're always being the quality judge and jury. They're always playing that God role. They like to protect their turf because they don't want anyone to take it. They always want to look like they are the top dog. They're over-dependent on details and policies. Now, leaders are very empowering people. They truly understand and believe that they would not be effective and good at what they're doing unless they are empowering their teams of people in their jobs, cultivating, growing their skill and ability. So they like to facilitate problem solving. They like to empower others, helping others learn from their mistakes, providing leadership for goal-setting processes. They like to develop that technical confidence and capability of, you can do this. Even if you think it's impossible, I truly believe and know you can do this. They're definitely a quality coach. Supporting as helpful resource. They like to link the team to broader organizational systems, bridging those barriers. Being tough and clear about a few key directions and principles, but basically they like to empower everyone and lift them up and believe that they can do their job and that they're capable of doing multitudes of things. Now let's talk about a few myths when we talk about leadership. Leadership is a rare skill. So for example, few people can lead. I can't get anyone to follow me. And that's not true. That is not true. That's where your power of persuasion comes in. Leaders are born, not made. Leadership is a natural ability. You either have it or you don't. It is my firm belief and our belief at Desert Leadership that that is not true. Leaders don't just come out of the womb. It's a skill that can be learned and can be cultivated and can always be strengthened every day, every month, every year. Effective leaders are charismatic. Leaders are always popular people who tell funny jokes and really enjoy speaking in front of large groups. Leadership exists only at the top. CEOs and highly paid executives are leaders. It is not my job to steer this company. And that's not true. Leaders are at every level of an organization. They are. They're not just the CEOs and the high-paid employees. Leaders control, direct, and produce. Leaders sit around and think of new processes to make my job harder. And I know that a lot of people think that, but that's not necessarily the truth. Leaders are not always the ones that have to micromanage. If they're leading effectively and they're doing the right thing, then they're empowering their people. They're building, they're growing, they're cultivating their people to move up to higher levels. Here are our 5 leadership roles. There's the technician, the manager, the architect, the trailblazer, and the coach. So before we get into each one of these with a little definition of what they are, just looking at it, do you automatically see one that really, that's who I am? So let's talk about the 5 leadership roles. The technician, a doer grounded in the present, who works on one technical project at a time, is controlling, dislikes abstraction, and believes the adage that if you want it done right, you do it yourself. They have a high degree of technical proficiency. They're sought out because of their expertise. They like to diagnose problems and use analytical skills. They possess superior troubleshooting and problem-solving abilities. They enjoy putting out fires, makes decisions quickly. Is this something that describes you? Manager. This is a person that likes to be pragmatic and directly controls the flow of work. They are managers that prefer order, planning, and the status quo. So these are people that absolutely like to plan and schedule projects. They like to direct resources to specific agreements. They decide daily goals and priorities. They track progress. They complete reports and paperwork. They run reports and meetings. They maintain discipline and order. So once again, is this something that describes you? The third one is architect. It's a system thinker and creator of social and technical systems. They envision the relationship between parts and has a long-term plan and perspective. This is definitely somebody that likes to align systems with strategic strategies and visions. They standardize and document processes and procedures. They challenge practices that are not consistent with the core philosophy of an organization. They reinforce positive cultural norms. They meet with others to learn new processes for the operation. Number 4, trailblazer. This is definitely someone who's a visionary. They're innovative, catalyst for change. They imagine the future and ask, what if? They analyze the organizational environment for trends and challenges. They clearly are able to articulate a vision for the future. They translate the vision into objectives. They impart and really enforce simple boundaries. They make connections with people outside the organization. They really like to encourage risk-taking and innovation. This right away automatically makes me think of an entrepreneur because this is something that really describes them to a T. Last is coach. This is a person that likes to develop, motivate, and inspire people. They like to really provide resources and training through excellent and impartial communication skills. Set standards for behavior and performance. Empowers people to make decisions and solve problems. Provides information and training. evaluates and helps individuals grow in their abilities, acts as a mentor, conducts performance evaluations. I can tell you, like, one of my top things that I've always been good at is this coach role. So is this definitely something that is calling to you? What I can tell you right here and right now is that it's imperative to understand that all leaders should perform all 5 roles. In traditional organizations, leaders emphasize the manager and technician roles, where in high-performance organizations, leaders emphasize the architect, the trailblazer, and the coach roles. As you can see on the diagram we have on the screen, the charter is always a trailblazer. The design is the architect, and relationships are usually the coach role. And as I said at the beginning, and it's really a key piece to the puzzle, is that all leaders build relationships. That's what leadership's about. Now let's talk about the leadership factor. You know, it's becoming more and more difficult for businesses large and small to survive in today's marketplace. Each year, 1 million new businesses are established. And of that, 40% fail by the year's end. Only 12% survive 5 years, and only 2 to 3% survive 10. So you ask yourself, why is that? Is it because there's numerous competitors out there? Is it because not understanding the customer's requirements? Maybe they don't understand the external components of the environment or the markets. Maybe it's undercapitalization. Maybe it could be a clear lack of strategy and clear goals. Maybe it's the location they're at. Maybe it's the timing. Maybe it's the poor organization. When it comes down to it, it could very well be leadership, because leadership can either bring a company high up or it can kill an organization. So leadership, you know, is really the most important factors for sustaining long-term business success. Leaders have the power to make things happen and influence the organization. Leaders are responsible for all of the other factors, including understanding the customers and the markets, developing strategy, etc. Leaders provide the vision, the inspiration, and the direction to really attract and motivate others to be successful. Leaders create the infrastructure, processes, systems, and structure in which the organization can succeed. Now, what I want to do is kind of go over the 6 principles of empowering leadership, because they really do go with this as well. And before I do that, I want to read this quote to you. Leadership is the pivotal force behind successful organizations. To create viable, my goodness, I can't even talk today, I apologize. To create vital and viable organizations, leadership is necessary to develop the new vision of what they can be, and then mobilize the organization to change towards that vision. The 6 principles of empowering leadership. Leaders must have a driving passion to realize their vision. Leaders build and sustain trust. Leaders are egoless and humble. Leaders inspire the commitment and the motivation of their followers. Leaders are organizational and social architects. So really, at the core of empowering leadership, leaders drive situations. They do not allow situations to drive them. So let's take a look at each principle individually. So empowering leaders to have a driving passion for and to realize their vision. Great leadership is about having clear goals and really knowing how to accomplish them. They have a passion for making the vision reality. So this really means that they are focused and present 100% of the time. They do not allow events or circumstances to determine what will happen to them. They are centered with outcomes. They are concerned with outcomes. They see the vision to rise above that adversity and setback and even failure. Empowering leaders are egoless. Many of the most effective leaders are humble. Although dogged about achieving their goals, they are not interested in the press clippings or the credit. The first person that comes to that mind is Mother Teresa. You know, was she worried about her star status? No. She was focused on what her goal was. She was focused on individuals. Principle number 2, again, still talking about egoless. So here's something that I'm going to read these to you. Definitely stop the tape if you want so that you can write it down, but I'd love for you to be able to answer these questions. Describe an experience in which you have seen someone's ego or your own get in the way of your leadership ability. How can you prevent ego from creeping in and undermining your own leadership? Consider your current leadership challenges. How can you apply these principles to successfully resolve those challenges? And like I said, at this point, if you need a second to write it down, stop the recording and just start up again. Principle number 3, empowering leaders build and maintain relationships of trust. As we talked about before, leadership is about relationships, and you can't have a relationship unless you have the ability to build trust. Empowering leaders are aware of their impact on others and seek to communicate and behave in ways that build trust, self-esteem, and confidence. Here's a little assessment that would be great for you to fill out. And it's assessing trust in your organization. So on a scale of 1 to 10, how much trust exists within your organization? Obviously, 1 is no trust, 5 is moderate trust, and 10 is highly trust. So obviously you can rank it between 1 and 10, but that's just kind of a scale for you to go off of. 2 is, why do you give this rating? So look at the rating and then explain why you're giving the rating that you have. Number 3, to what extent can people trust you to achieve business results? Number 4, to what extent do you believe you act with integrity, keeping comments and acting consistently with your goals? Number 5, to what extent do people feel like you are able to, my goodness, I am just having a hard time here, I apologize. To what extent do people feel like you are about them and have their best interests at heart? I apologize for the ruckus that you're hearing. This is my cat, Monster, and he is just full of himself right now. I'll have to put a picture on there so you can see him, but he is literally a part of everything I do here in my home office. So I apologize for the disruption. Number 6, reflect upon your relationships with each member of your staff. What do you do that builds trust in one column and weakens trust in another, and then list those. 7, you're going to evaluate the amount of trust you believe exists between your relationships, between you and each member of your staff. So you'll put their name, 1 through 10, 1 being low, 5 being moderate, and 10 being high, and you'll rate it accordingly. Lastly is, what are some steps that you can take to build trust within your organization? And this is really where you have to reflect. Pretty much this entire assessment is really reflecting on your belief in these questions. And I think if you really answer them honestly, you will find that you obviously have some positive strengths and that you also have some weaknesses. And this is where you really need to work on those weaknesses to turn them into strengths, as well as this would be a great thing to be able to give to your staff as well. Number 4, empowering leadership unleash the motivation and commitment of their followers. Leaders define the boundaries and encourage people to be self-governing. Again, this is about empowerment. As a leader, you want to empower your people for greater success. Now, when we look at the 5th principle, empowering leaders are organizational and social architects. There are 7 key elements to organizational and social architects: environment, strategy, core processes, structure, systems, culture, and results. Now, when you look at these are what I was talking about in the organizational transformation. Now, what we do within the model of transformation is that we take a look at what our results are today. And we go, okay, well, here are our results. Now, is that what we're going for, or do our results need to be more profitable? Do we need to, okay, so what are we doing to get these results? Well, here's what my goal is, but here's where we're at. So then you have to literally break it down to the environment. You know, you need to look at key things like current market conditions. You need to look at your key customers, your key suppliers, your key competitors, your stakeholders. You need to look at the external influencing factors. You need to look at the market and the environment and the technology. With strategy, we're going to be looking at strategy from a business point of view and an organizational point of view. Strategy, you're going to be looking at the current mission, the guiding principles, the sense of shared vision, the current management philosophy. That would be your organizational look at the strategy. Where business, you're going to look at, well, what business what business am I in? What are my core competencies? What are my current products and services that I offer? What is my current market position? Is my performance against key points? Is it against the key industry success factors? Am I looking at the current strategic focus? You know, your results are going to be measured based off your current key result areas, your current measurable and tracking systems. Your resource is your inventory, your equipment, your capital, your manpower, your materials, your technology, your current financials, your revenue, and your cost structure. Your culture. Again, we're looking at cultural norms, your general morale of your organization, the job satisfaction, the worker attitudes, behaviors, beliefs, the managerial aspects, behaviors, beliefs. Your systems are going to be broken down into coordination and development. Coordination is going to be things like your measurement and feedback, your goal setting, your policies, your procedures, the communication and information sharing. The development side of the systems is always going to be looking at your orientation, your training and development, your progress and promotion, your performance evaluations and feedback, your recognition. Your environment, we talked about that again, market conditions. These are all 7 keys to really taking a look at your organization and looking within your organization and seeing where your positive strengths are, where your weaknesses are, and learning how to build those weaknesses up. Our 6th empowering principle is the act from positive beliefs about people and situations. Strengthening versus weakening beliefs. At any given moment, the human brain receives an overwhelming amount of data. They cannot always be absorbed by our senses. The human brain can only process so much. The gaps are filled in by our own belief system. So what I've learned and what I have to tell you is that at any moment, I can come in and do a 2-day training. But if you are not going to be willing to back it up in day-to-day actions, whatever they do learn, whatever anybody learns, if it's not being used daily and exercised, it's not going to stick. We're always going to go back to what is comfortable, what we know. Change is not something that anybody enjoys. Change is not something that we all say, yay, let's do change, we love it. Nobody likes change. It's a part of life, it's a part of business, it's a part of our organization. So what we have to do is find ways to ensure that we're always reaching for that goal. We're exercising our beliefs and building and broadening our horizons. So we've always got the information, the ideas, the beliefs, and actions going into one positive direction. Understand that legacy and leadership go hand in hand, and a leader is only as good as their legacy. So what is your legacy? What is it that you're trying to achieve? What is it that you want to do? Because whether you know it or not, every day you're building your legacy. So I hope that you enjoyed our talk on legacy and leadership. Please feel free to go back through it again. I am going to be putting more and more videos on YouTube and having more videos available at desertleadershipuniversity.com. You can go learn more about Desert Leadership, myself and my business partner, at desertleadership.com. It will give you a great overview of who we are, what we are, the things that we do offer. And our newest website is Desert Leadership University. We offer a lot of key courses. They're shortened courses on the topics that we offer. They do have the key 12 principles of leadership, but I'm also going to be doing some seminars that we're going to try and get those set up in person as well as over the internet. So hopefully you've enjoyed this information. If you have, please make sure to subscribe to my channel so that way when I do add more videos, you'll be aware of them. And definitely check us out at desertleadershipuniversity.com. Thanks so much.